Now at 4, breaking news. The latest as police shut down the connector because of a suspicious package. Team coverage. The latest on Whitney Houston's daughter, Bobbi Kristina's condition and the investigation. Plus a CBS 46 exclusive, a first-hand account from a family member. Measles outbreak. As the contagious virus moves toward Georgia, we examine the concerns about vaccinations and what local doctors are doing to prepare.
CBS 46 News at 4 starts now.
Well, let's get right to that breaking news here at 4 o'clock. Both northbound and southbound lanes on the downtown connector are shut down. Police are there investigating a suspicious package. CBS 46's Bernard Watson joins us live from the 14th Street Bridge overlooking the connector. And Bernard, certainly not only thousands of people out there stuck, but many of our co-workers trapped in that mess too.
That's right, Tracy. 17th Street Bridge is right here behind me. It's got some traffic on it now. It's starting to move a little bit, but I can tell you it was backed up just a few minutes ago. But let's show you the connector right here. 75, 85 downtown. You can see it looks like a ghost town, no traffic at all. It's been shut down for at least the last couple of hours, all because of that suspicious package that was underneath the 14th Street Bridge. I can tell you probably about 6 to 8 minutes ago, we heard a loud boom sound out here. We don't know what that sound was. Sounded like some type of detonation. What I can tell you is that on the scene out here is a small robot that bomb squads use to check out suspicious packages. Let's go to some video of that. You can see that small robot, and a lot of times in situations like this, that robot will shoot some water, a water cannon at a device, and that makes it detonate. Again, we don't have that confirmed, but that is what usually happens in cases like this. We are trying to get that information, but again, the GSP, the Georgia State Patrol, as well as Atlanta Police, we've got Homeland Security, as well as the fire department. They are all out here on the scene trying to figure out what is going on with that package, which is underneath the 17th Street Bridge. You can also see that there is a fire truck that they have deployed, a ladder truck that is trying to get a good vantage point of that suspicious package. Traffic has been a mess down here for at least the last couple of hours. As Tracy mentioned, we've had co-workers, myself included, who got caught in this traffic, taking several hours to get around downtown Atlanta. It is truly a mess, and we see what happens when we shut down the connector downtown. It just makes getting around a pain in the rear. But again, emergency crews are on the scene trying to figure out what is going on with that package. We haven't seen any movement in the last couple of minutes, but again, that is the latest out here on the 17th Street Bridge as emergency crews try to figure out what's in that package and whether it is dangerous or not. Again, we heard a loud explosion sound or a booming sound probably about 6 to 8 minutes ago. When we get some more information, we will, of course, bring that to you. For now, we are live at the 17th Street Bridge. Bernard Watson, CBS 46 News.
Bernard, keep us updated. All right, you saw how eerily quiet it was on the downtown connector. Here is the resulting backup from this connector being closed down. This is the connector at Cortlandt Street. A live look at these pictures as people are going nowhere. And it has been this way for the past couple of hours, as Bernard said, as crews are down there trying to investigate a suspicious package. If you know someone that heads down the connector on their way home around 17th to I-20, let them know to take an alternate route or they are going to be stuck in this mess for quite a while. Again, the downtown connector from 17th to I-20 north and southbound closed right now, and this is the resulting backup. We'll keep an eye on the breaking news and, of course, the traffic situation, and keep you updated.
Well, another big story developing right now. Close family and friends are praying for Bobbi Kristina Brown. More details are coming out about the 21-year-old's condition. She was found unconscious in the bathtub of her Roswell home on Saturday. At 4 o'clock, here's the very latest. Bobbi Kristina has significantly diminished brain function. Doctors have told her family it doesn't look good. That is according to the website TMZ.com. She is reportedly on a ventilator. TMZ.com is also reporting tests have determined her brain function is alarmingly low. Bobbi Kristina's father, singer Bobby Brown, he's reportedly at her bedside, and today he is asking for privacy. Brown's lawyer said no more information would be released by Bobby Brown today. And then there's this. The Brown family is putting out this picture of Bobbi Kristina on social media with the message #PrayForBK. Right now, this photo and the message is trending today at 4. Our team coverage begins with the CBS 46 exclusive. The family of Bobbi Kristina Brown is speaking.
And CBS 46's Daniel Wilkerson was the only reporter to speak with her cousin. Daniel joins us here in studio. And Daniel, what is the cousin saying about Bobbi Kristina's condition right now?
Well, he's hoping that she pulls through. We found out from sources that she is on a ventilator, and that even the sources are even telling us that the family has been told to prepare for the worst. And of course, everybody is pulling for her. We're pulling for her. Jerrod Brown is the son of Bobbi Brown's oldest sister, Elizabeth. He talked to me just a little while ago by Skype at the hospital. He says it's hard seeing his family go through this.
We're not just talking about a celebrity child. We're talking about somebody who's a part of the human race.
To the world, we know her as Bobbi Kristina. But for Jerrod Brown, she's family. She's Chrissy.
If this was your child, or any of your staff child going through something like this, I'm pretty sure that you guys, the only thing that you guys could do was pray.
Bobbi Kristina Brown, the only child of the late icon Whitney Houston and singer Bobby Brown. Jerrod Brown is her first cousin.
My family's doing all right, man. But of course, it's not easy seeing your family hurt like that. So, like I said, man, I just want everybody to continue to pray for BK.
We talked to Brown by Skype from the hospital where Bobbi Kristina is being treated.
We just want support.
Right now, Bobbi Kristina is fighting for her life. Our sources say she is on a ventilator and has deteriorated brain function. Saturday, police were called to Brown's Roswell townhome. They say her husband found her face down in a bathtub. Our sources say she was without oxygen for a period of time. Her husband, Nick Gordon, and a friend did CPR until help arrived. She was then rushed to a hospital where our sources say she is in a medically induced coma. She has yet to regain consciousness. Her cousin Jerrod has a plea to anyone watching.
You know, they say there's powers in numbers, so I just ask the world who, even if you don't care to know about who Bobbi Kristina is, what I do actually is have compassion as a human being.
And on top of all of this all comes at a time when we're coming up on the anniversary of her mother, Whitney Houston's death. Coming up in our later broadcast, I'm working on what the cousin told me about her mother's death affecting Bobbi Kristina.
Thank you, Daniel. Our team coverage continues now at the hospital where Bobbi Kristina is being treated. Family and friends are gathered at her bedside at North Fulton Hospital. And as Tracy mentioned, her father, Bobby Brown, as well. CBS 46's Christopher King joins us from Roswell here at 4 o'clock.
Stephanie, there have been a lot of rumors flying around throughout the day. Here's what we can tell you. Bobbi Kristina Brown was fighting for her life, and a source tells CBS 46 her condition was grim. The daughter of the world's most beloved entertainers was breathing with the help of a respirator at North Fulton Hospital. Bobbi Kristina Brown was rushed here after her husband, Nick Gordon, found her face down in a bathtub a week after the anniversary of her mother's death. Whitney Houston was found face down in a tub 3 years ago. Cocaine and heart disease were contributing factors. It isn't clear if Brown had any drugs or alcohol in her system. A source tells CBS 46 Brown's condition got worse throughout the weekend and her brain was functioning at a disturbingly low level. Her father, singer Bobby Brown, flew in to be by her bedside. In the meantime, family and friends prayed for the best but braced for the worst. Now, the Houston family, that's Whitney Houston's side, have issued a statement. They say that Bobbi Kristina is fighting for her life, and they say they're asking for privacy. They're thanking everyone for their prayers and their support. Live in Roswell, Christopher King, CBS 46 News.
And we continue our team coverage now with a closer look at the police investigation. Detectives have spent hours at Bobbi Kristina's Roswell home looking for answers. CBS 46's Frank Wiley is live at the Roswell Police Department with what police are sharing with him.
Well, of course, police are saying very little at this time as this investigation continues. You know, we've been following this since the story broke. Police did release some information to me today, and it had some blank spaces on that, but here's what else we found out. Police have not released much. We did obtain this, a restraining order. And from what's written, trouble may have started inside this gated Roswell community months ago. This report dates back to April of 2014. At least one family member believed these smiles were nothing more than a camera reflex. You can see the order cites family violence. Marion Houston, Bobby Christina Brown's aunt, filed this with the Superior Court in Fulton County. The paperwork orders Bobby Christina's husband, Nicholas Gordon, that's him pictured with her, to stay 200 yards away. The court believed more violence could happen in the future. Saturday morning, Bobby Christina's name wound up on an incident report. Police were called to her home for reported drowning. Nick's name and someone named Max Lomas was listed too. We know Max works for RPG Trees in Norcross. He's a tree climber. Police say by the time medics arrived that Saturday morning, Nick was already performing CPR on his wife. He said he found her in the tub unresponsive, the same way police found her mother, Whitney Houston, just 3 years before. Police aren't releasing the search warrant findings on this case yet. The investigation continues. And also, according to Entertainment Tonight, ET, police found Bobby Christina unresponsive from an apparent drug overdose. For now, we are live in Roswell. Frank Wiley, CBS 46 News.
Frank, thank you. And the minute any of our crews learn something new about this story, we will bring it to you here on the air. You can also find more information on our website at cbs46.com inside the blue box.
And as you heard, we'll bring you updates on Bobby Christina and that suspicious package on the 17th Street Bridge as they become available.
A homeowner surprises a burglar and ends up in the hospital with a gunshot wound. We'll update her condition after the break.
Today at 5:30 on.
New developments now at 4 in a burglary that put a woman in the hospital. She was shot on Magnolia Avenue. That's off Pilgrim Mill Road in Forsyth County. CBS 46's Jason Aubrey reports from the scene near Cumming.
The police are searching for 2 people they say broke into this blue home and shot the person living there. Meanwhile, neighbors living on this street are concerned having something so violent happen so close to home. Aaliyah Baratarvik and her husband fled Bosnia in 1997 at the height of the war because of the violence. Today, she was reminded of it when her neighbor was shot during a burglary. She says, "We came from the war and we were trying to get away from all of that." Her son Amir lives at home and was asleep at the time the shooting happened.
My mom came rushing into my room, waking me up, going crazy. I look outside the window and I see a bunch of police cars, see one of my neighbors crying, running back into our house.
And Amir says the neighborhood has had its share of troubles.
There was about 5 or 6 robberies the first week we were actually in this neighborhood back in early 2000s.
And after today, Aaliyah says she's ready to sell the home and move. Until then, the Baratarviks are faced with a specter of the past as they contemplate bringing a gun into their home for protection.
Back in where we came from and everything, there was a war going on, so we kind of escaped that, came here trying to get away from that, and now for this to happen even in our backyard, it's very, very scary.
Neighbors tell me the woman who stayed in this home lived alone and kept mostly to herself. In Forsyth County, Jason Aubrey, CBS 46 News.
Safeguards put in place worked as a sex offender was nabbed at the front door of a school. But parents want to know why he wasn't sent home immediately and allowed to stay anyway.
We have an update to the breaking news we brought you at the beginning of this newscast. The north and southbound lanes of the downtown connector have just reopened after police took care of a suspicious package on the 14th Street Bridge. CBS 46's Bernard Watson joins us from the 17th Street Bridge with an update, and I see a few cars trickling there behind you.
That's right, Stephanie. Let me get out of the way so you can see. Just a few cars going down there on the southbound lanes. We haven't seen any cars on the northbound lanes yet, but as you mentioned, we expect that to happen pretty soon. If you can zoom in, we also see that there is some type of SWAT vehicle underneath the 14th Street Bridge. As I mentioned at the top of the 4, shortly before the 4, we heard a loud boom sound coming from that area. We are assuming that that was a detonation of whatever package was underneath the 14th Street Bridge. We're in the process of getting the latest information from Atlanta police at this moment. We'll bring that to you as soon as we get it. But again, the connector was shut down for a couple of hours this afternoon as investigators checked out that suspicious package on the 14th Street Bridge. And as you might imagine, traffic around Metro Atlanta was at a standstill, at a crawl, particularly around this area. people didn't have really many ways to get around. Traffic backed up as Homeland Security, Georgia State Patrol, Atlanta Police, firefighters, as well as the bomb squad investigated what was going on with that package. Again, shortly before 4, we heard a loud booming sound. We assumed that was the detonation of that package. We'll get that information. But the expressway now is back open. We're waiting to see them let traffic going northbound on the connector to start flowing, but you can still see the emergency vehicles are still there on the scene. When we get more information about exactly what that package was and what was going on with it, we will bring it to you. For now, I am live on the 17th Street Bridge. Bernard Watson, CBS 46 News.
Yeah, this is a story we will certainly continue to follow and let you know when all lanes are back open and flowing freely. In the meantime, Georgia's own General Beauregard Lee didn't quite see things the same way today as nationally known Punxsutawney Phil did. While Phil saw a shadow predicting 6 more weeks of winter weather, General Lee says no, not so fast. There was no shadow there, and that means we lucky Southerners can expect an early spring this year. Another groundhog in Wisconsin didn't really appreciate being pulled out into the cold. Jimmy the groundhog, he bit the mayor of Sun Prairie. Uh-oh, look. Ooh, he's getting, ouch.
Got his ear.
He was sniffing, then he took a little bite. Yeah, for the record, Jimmy did not see a shadow. The mayor's not hurt. You can see he's okay, a little stunned, but yeah, I don't think those two will be meeting up anytime soon again. Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
Now, your CBS 46 forecast with Chief Meteorologist Jim Kosek.
I give them granola bars before we go on air. You got to treat them right. Fortunate or not, I really think Phil nailed it. 6, if not another 8 more weeks of winter, despite what the calendar says. There are some great groundhog recipes just in case you dabble in that sort of thing as well on the internet. 31 LJ, 34 Canton, 39 degrees Atlanta. It has gotten cold, but it shouldn't be a shocker to you. This is exactly what we were expecting over the last several days, and rightly so in the I'll call it tan shaded area. Wind advisory in play until 6 o'clock this evening for some gusts up to 30 miles an hour. Hey, that purple shade area, that's a winter weather advisory. That's up until 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. But again, this is more for spots of black ice as opposed to additional snow flurries that will run through there. Clouds are slowly thinning over the next several hours here. We still have our fair share back to the north and west, but again, they're aimed more toward the Smokies and extreme northeastern Georgia as opposed to the metro endpoint southbound. Shortly thereafter, we turn our attention to the Gulf because this is where our next storm system, or is it, coming from? Because it could be a swing and a miss. Throughout the day, Wednesday, certainly off to our south. By Wednesday night, it's going to be close, but I think it's more on a line, say, Columbus over to Macon and Augusta, as opposed to areas farther to the north. By Thursday, it'll be ushered stage east out of here by a cold front. Now this front will kick up a gusty wind, and maybe there is a passing shower with it Thursday morning, and a mix of rain, snow showers up in the mountains Thursday morning. No accumulation, but outside of that, forget the prospects of wintry precipitation. Just bundle up because it is getting cold tonight. The wind diminishes with the setting sun a few minutes after 6 o'clock, and we are down into the 20s. Not going to get much better throughout the course of tomorrow morning, but in the afternoon, not bad. Light breeze, more sun, temps in the 50s, and if that weren't enough for you, look at that. With that storm missing us, there's enough sunshine to boost us to almost 60 degrees. Cold front comes screaming through, kicks us back to reality on Thursday. Once again, little to no fanfare in terms of precipitation. It'll stay cold through Friday, but oh, baby. Cold front Sunday night, Monday morning, but in advance of it, if you have outdoor plans this upcoming weekend, Stephanie, may I say you are most certainly ahead of the curve. And if you don't have outdoor plans, you want to get them. We could tickle 60.
Katy Perry brings home a lasting souvenir for Super Bowl halftime show.
While an NFL quarterback admits he needs help to tame some of the demons afflicting him.
You're watching CBS 46 News. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
Some big names making news this afternoon. The murder trial of former New England Patriot Aaron Hernandez resumes tomorrow. The heavy snowfall in the Northeast canceled the trial today. Hernandez is on trial for the June 2013 murder of a friend of his, Odin Lloyd. If you were curious, Hernandez remains in isolation and was not allowed to watch the Super Bowl last night.
Cleveland Browns quarterback Johnny Manziel is in rehab. The team confirms that he checked himself in last Wednesday. Manziel, also known as Johnny Football, was selected in the first round of the 2014 NFL Draft. He finished his rookie season without a touchdown pass and 2 interceptions.
To commemorate her Super Bowl 49 halftime performance, Katy Perry got a Super Bowl tattoo. It's the number 49 in Roman numerals. It's on the inside of one of her fingers. If you watched last night, you know Perry put on a colorful and energetic show. At one point, there she is elevated above the crowd singing Firework as the fireworks exploded outside. That was pretty incredible because they were able to leave the retractable roof open because it was such a beautiful night. So you could see it inside and outside.
Lots of costume changes there.
Yes, a lot.
Well, Georgia hasn't been hit yet, but some people think it is just a matter of time before a spreading measles outbreak affects our lives.
Now to a developing story at 4. Authorities are trying to track down the man they say killed 5 people inside a home in Troup County. CBS 46's Dante Carter joins us live from that home. And Dante, you spoke with deputies today. What are they saying about the investigation?
Well, they're telling me they don't have any leads right now, just the 5 bodies inside of that home. They told me today they've asked the U.S. Marshal's Office to help them find that murder suspect, Thomas Lee. They say he's the missing piece to finding out just what happened. Inside of this home, Troup County deputies say they walked into a horrific scene. The GBI was at the home for 16 straight hours before returning this morning to search for bullet casings and fingerprints.
It's been really surprised that a neighborhood like this something could happen.
Delcy Swope tells CBS 46 she knew the victims. Her daughter worked with 33-year-old Christy Lee. Her granddaughter played in the band with 16-year-old Bailey Bertrand.
You just don't think of someone that young, something happening to them.
Deputies tell me a call about a welfare check from co-workers of William Bertrand, who hadn't seen him in a couple of days, led them to the scene. Late Saturday night, deputies discovered William, his wife Sheila Bertrand, their daughter Christy Lee, her daughter Bailey, and a family friend, Iana Green.
It's a horrific scene in there, and we have 5 murder victims, and our hearts just go out to the families right now.
Deputies are looking for this man, Thomas Lee. They say they don't have any leads right now. We're told the GBI is working to find out what kind of gun was used to shoot and kill the 4 victims. An autopsy will determine how the 5th died, and that's happening as we speak. Only thing police have to go by is Lee's car, an olive green Mazda with a possible Georgia tag of BRN 0785. We went to the house believed to be Lee's father's home. No one answered.
He's an individual that's murdered 5 people. And we definitely want to find him, talk to him, and figure out what happened here. And obviously, if you've murdered 5 people, you know, you're a dangerous person.
Yeah, and deputies are hoping that something you may have seen or may have heard will help them to find Lee. But even if you haven't seen or heard him, there's still a way that you can help. And I'll tell you how, coming up tonight at 5:30. For now, live here, Dante Carter, CBS 46 News.
Let's cover news across the South this afternoon. A tragic end to the search for a missing Arkansas nursing student. Callie Morris's body was found in an overturned vehicle. It was partially submerged in water. The 21-year-old disappeared while driving to her parents' house in Oklahoma last week. She was just 40 minutes from home. Investigators believe she died from injuries sustained in that accident.
An East Carolina University fraternity is suspended after a possible sexual assault. A woman says someone assaulted her at the Sigma Phi Epsilon house on January 25th. Now, the university says that the fraternity members are cooperating with the investigation.
New technology snared a convicted sex offender when he walked into a Tennessee elementary school to have breakfast with his grandchildren. The school held a special event so students could eat breakfast with relatives. A man convicted of sexual battery showed up. A new system flagged him at the door, but parents are angry because the principal allowed him to eat with the grandkids, with the school resource officer watching.
A couple murdered while answering a Craigslist ad for a Ford Mustang that didn't exist. They were laid to rest this afternoon. Police say Bud and June Runyon of Marietta were murdered by Ronnie J. Towns during a robbery. The Runyons' funeral was this weekend. It was Saturday at their church in Marietta, and they were buried today at Georgia National Cemetery in Canton. In CBS 46 Health News here at 4 o'clock, the measles outbreak that started out west at Disneyland in California it's spreading. According to numbers released today by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention right here in Atlanta, there are 100 cases in more than a dozen states now. CBS 46's Renee Starzik joins us live from the CDC with what we all need to know about measles.
Well, no cases of measles have been reported here in Georgia, but the CDC does fear that could change. The illness can be transmitted by coughing and sneezing. The CDC says there is one simple way we can all protect ourselves. Mama. 2-year-old Brody McClellan has had a measles vaccine. Children need 2 doses before they turn 6.
Oh, I'm concerned that parents don't do it. I don't want him exposed to something like that. I wish all parents would do it.
Brody's mom has heard about the measles outbreak that started out west at Disneyland and has now spread to 14 states.
It's definitely scary. People need to start vaccinating. Every child needs to be vaccinated.
Some clinics don't want anyone who might have measles in their office because it's highly contagious. The CDC says getting vaccinated is the best way to stay safe. The vaccine is 97% effective, we're told, and even adults should get it if they're not sure they've been immunized.
I had measles as a 2-year-old. I know that. That's not good enough evidence anymore. We have to have either a record of vaccination or a blood test showing immunity.
Back in 2000, the CDC declared measles no longer a problem. But with this latest outbreak, they are issuing an alert saying measles can be deadly.
Well, I think it's a wake-up call for us that measles is still around in the world, that we're very interconnected, that we have, as opposed to Ebola, you know, we have some way to prevent measles. It's a really safe and effective vaccine.
The CDC says the scary thing is you may not even know you have the measles because it can take up to 2 weeks for symptoms to appear. Coming up next hour, what those symptoms are and how long you might be contagious. We are live in Atlanta at the CDC. Renee Starzik, CBS 46 News.
Now to the big stories around the world today. Another embarrassing legal proceeding for the former head of the International Monetary Fund. Dominique Strauss-Kahn is going on trial in northern France for alleged pimping. This new case comes 4 years after he was accused of raping a hotel maid in New York. Those charges were dropped.
One of London's iconic double-decker buses had its roof ripped off. The bus hit a tree in central London. 5 people were hurt.
And take a look at this huge cloud of dust frightened more than a few people in a Brazilian city. A dust cloud ripped roofs off homes and pulled up traffic signs. No one was hurt in all that. That's a look at stories making headlines around the world today.
Let's take a live look at the downtown connector here from Chopper 46 as traffic north and southbound is flowing once again after police detonated a suspicious package on the 14th Street Bridge. Closed down the connector from the 17th Street exit to I-20 for a couple of hours this afternoon, causing miles and miles of traffic backup. But again, the good news, north and southbound lanes of the downtown connector have reopened. We'll keep you updated on that suspicious package.
People who live in the Northeast have got to be saying, oh no, not again. Winter rears its ugly head for another round of snow making driving treacherous.
I thought, oh my God, you got to be kidding me.
A mother can't believe she's charged with child abuse for what she did while driving.
On news and weather anytime, log on to CBS46.com.
This week, we're expecting new developments into the investigation in the shooting of Maggie McCollum, the wife of the Peachtree City Police Chief. This week, the GBI is expected to wrap up its investigation and hand the case over to the District Attorney's Office. Chief William McCollum called 911 early New Year's Day to report he accidentally shot his wife with his service weapon. She told police she was asleep when it happened and believes it was an accident. Maggie was released from the hospital earlier this month.
A mother from Florida faces child abuse charges for slamming on her brakes to get her kids to stop arguing in the back seat. Police filed charges against the woman because her 12-year-old, who was in the front seat, hit the windshield and cracked it. She didn't have her seatbelt on.
I didn't on purpose or intentionally harm my daughter. You understand?
The 12-year-old complained of dizziness and a headache, and her mother said she had no idea anything was wrong until the Department of Children's Services and police showed up 3 days later. For now, those kids are in Kentucky with their dad.
Now, your CBS 46 forecast with Chief Meteorologist Jim Kosek.
Well, the rain beast is over, even where we saw a little bit of mixed precipitation across the northern part of the state. That is winding down as well, but you could see what we're talking about. I'll get out of the way for you. Gwinnett County and Lawrenceville. This since midnight, mind you, for today, 4/10 of an inch. The storm as a whole brought just under an inch of rain, and on average it was between a half and an inch and a half, much like its predecessor the prior week. Marietta picking up 1,100 since midnight, tipping the scales at a full inch for this past weekend. And yeah, it was coming down like cats and dogs on occasion Sunday afternoon and Sunday night. Now in its wake, not just the temperatures running in the 30s and 40s, as you could see right now, but factor in the wind, and it feels, you know, a good 5 to 10 degrees colder than these numbers outside. And rightly so, we have a couple of weather alerts in effect. This is a high wind, or not, it's just a wind advisory, excuse me. That's going to be running up until 6 o'clock this evening. Doesn't look like it's going to be all that big of a deal. It's for wind gusts topping 25 to 30 miles per hour, so you can see that right there. So again, with the sun going down a few minutes after 6 o'clock, all this is going to fizzle and fall by the wayside. We'll talk about the single digits for the wind speed, I'd say anytime after about 9, 10 o'clock this evening, but the cold is locked in. That's because in most instances, the clouds are going to thin out rapidly. Some of the higher spots, once we get up over extreme northeast Georgia, up and through North Carolina, still could have 1 or 2 snow showers under the cover of darkness tonight and first thing tomorrow morning for some of our North Carolina friends watching. But I'd be more concerned about isolated black ice later on tonight. We'll see a little more in terms of wet weather coming from downstate Illinois into the Smokies, but farther to the south, it's just going to clear out during the wee hours of the morning. You can see that with our hour-by-hour forecast, 9, 10, 11 o'clock into the wee hours of the morning. As for tomorrow, we'll start to see some wispy high clouds coming in from a storm system gathering strength over the Gulf of Mexico, but that storm system stays off to our south. So even though we'll have more in terms of cloud cover Wednesday and Wednesday night, I think the wet weather is most likely going to stay bottled up Columbus to Macon and Augusta and points southbound as opposed to coming off to the north. So I'm going to argue for primarily dry weather this work week here. Temperatures tonight, though, into tomorrow morning, this is what you contend with on the way to work or school, in the 20s, but it's a tranquil setup. Temperatures tomorrow afternoon will peak on into the 50s, more low as opposed to mid 50s as we see in LaGrange, but under a mostly sunny sky, just some of those wispy high clouds coming in. That's a nice day. Gets even warmer Wednesday because the storm system down the Gulf should stay over the Gulf. For a few spots well off to our south, it's going to be Wednesday night. Now, I'm going to put about a 1 in 7 or 8 chance to get wet first thing Thursday morning as the northern cold front drops in. Better risk for a rain or snow shower north of the metro, but again, no accumulation. But you can see the drop off in terms of temperatures. Next 2 days, 50s. The next 2 after that, Thursday, Friday, 40s. And Friday morning, we'll start off in the 20s for crying out loud. There'll be a little breeze with the passage of that Thursday cold front as well. But we're going to make up for it this weekend, bar none. Look at that. Sunshine giving way to some clouds. I wouldn't be surprised if we hit 60 degrees both days, to be honest. And while there may be a shower late Sunday or Sunday night in advance of a Monday morning cold front, and yeah, we started this work week off with the gusty wind. Next Monday, probably the same scenario. I say let's worry about that then, Stephanie. Next 2 days looking great after a cold start, and this weekend looking pretty sweet. I want 60 degrees. How about you?
I'll take it, Jim. Yes, please. Maybe it'll inch up a few degrees for us for Saturday. Thank you. Not the case in the Northeast, though. It is snow on top of snow for people who live there. Round 2 of winter weather has hit. Chris Van Cleve joins us live from Boston here at 4 o'clock.
Well, Stephanie, we continue to see snow. We've seen it all day long here in Boston, mixed in with a really cold wind. And this afternoon, we thought it would switch to rain. Instead, the temperatures have plunged now into the teens, and with that wind chill, it feels even colder. And the snow, well, it's still falling, and if you look around, there is no shortage of snow here in Boston. Roads are slick and treacherous in Oradell, New Jersey after overnight snow and freezing rain. Temperatures are dropping.
I'm avoiding going up hills. I was getting up a hill and I started sliding back a little bit, and I said, this is not going to work. So I kind of made a U-turn.
In Boston, the snow is piling up. It's another Arctic blast less than a week after a blizzard left 2 feet of snow on the ground. Many Bostonians are taking all this lousy weather and the tons of snow in stride, choosing instead to focus on the Patriots and their big Super Bowl win.
We're pretty stout-hearted here in Boston. We get the job done, just like the Patriots.
Boston holds a parade Tuesday to honor the Patriots, but the mayor says the celebration will not interfere with snow removal.
One thing that we're hearing that we're going to remove only snow from the parade route, that is not the case.
In the Chicago area, people are digging out from almost 2 feet of snow.
It's crazy. We've got so much snow in just a short period of time.
More than 5,000 flights nationwide have been canceled yesterday and today because of the weather. And here in Boston, they have removed over the weekend. So before this storm, they removed 6,000 truckloads of snow from the city. The mayor saying they're going to try to have the streets clear before that parade. All of the streets here in Boston. So an overnight task that will be enormous. Now, kids were out of school today. Today was a snow day. The mayor of Boston saying that won't be the case tomorrow. He said we're not going to cancel school and hold a parade on the same day. So kids will go back to school. The Patriots will have their victory parade, and it will be very cold when that happens. The air temperature is forecast to be 14 degrees. Back to you.
All right, Chris Van Cleve reporting live for us there in Boston. They got a lot of work ahead, don't they? Well, now some video you have to see. A thrill-seeking skier had a run-in with police. The Warren, Michigan man rigged what he thought was a new, pretty fun snow sport, skiing behind a car. Not so smart. He was cruising along when a TV station broadcast that live. Well, the mayor, who was being interviewed by the station over the phone, said he wished there was an officer in that area to ticket that skier. Well, not too long after that, that's exactly what happened.
In CBS 46 Consumer News, some cell phone batteries last longer than others. CBS 46's Annalie Penny shows us which ones hold a charge longest.
Among some of the best in Consumer Reports tests are Samsung Galaxy S4 and S5, the LG G phones, Motorola Droid Turbo, and the Apple iPhone 6 Plus. Another option is to get a charging device. Consumer Reports Shop Smart magazine checked out several that will leave no device uncharged.
Nothing says misery like being out and about away from a power source and your phone goes dead. Lots of companies are tapping into that fear, producing products for portable power. How about a leather purse that comes with its own charger? Sure, these are cute, but are they necessary? This bag for $175 has a sewn-in battery, but the pocket could not zip properly because of the cord sticking out. Some other clutches come with a removable charger, so you could put it into another bag, which led Consumer Reports Shop Smart editor Lisa Freeman to ask,
why not just buy a little portable charger that you can put in a bag that you already own?
Indeed, there are tons of portable chargers on the market, so how do you pick one?
When you shop, look for milliamps per hour, or mAh, and keep in mind that the average smartphone battery holds about 2,200 to 3,000 mAh.
This sleek device for $20, the Anker Astro Mini, has 3,200 mAh, more than enough to fully charge your phone. It works with both Apple and Android devices and fits into any bag or pocket. For true techies who need to power up several gadgets on the go, there's this TYLT Energy Backpack for $200. The battery holds over 10,000 mAh and has 3 ports, 2 for phones, 1 for charging a tablet. The cables run into plush-lined compartments that keep everything protected, including your laptop.
Another option to help your phone stay powered up is to buy a charging case from companies such as Mophie and PhoneSuit. Consumer Reports tests show they can nearly double a phone's battery life.
Well, what came down may soon go up again. We're talking about gas prices. Thousands of Shell oil refinery workers have gone on their largest strike since 1980. That walkoff comes after United Steelworkers rejected a new contract with Shell. Some analysts say if that strike goes on for a long time, it could send prices at the gas pump higher. Well, we make it easier for you to find the cheapest gas prices anywhere where you are. Just head to our website and look under traffic under the news tab on CBS46.com. We'll share 3 of the cheapest prices with you in our 5:30 half hour.
More than 4,000 people have filed claims against GM over those faulty ignition switches. Saturday was the last day to file, and the man evaluating the claim says 125 of them so far are eligible for compensation. 400 have been turned down. You'll remember GM recalled over 2.5 million cars because of this problem. Binge watching television shows could be bad for you. I hate to hear this. Researchers with the University of Texas at Austin say they found a link between marathon TV sessions and depression and loneliness. They note binge watching can be related to obesity and fatigue and may lead some to neglect their work and their relationships.
Watch with a friend. Maybe do that. Social media is getting a little more kid-friendly. Vine is launching a new app just for kids. Vine Kids, it lets users swipe for videos that have been filtered for appropriate content. The 6-second sharing app works a lot like the regular version. The service features cartoon characters, animals, and sound effects for kids. That app is available for Apple devices.
Well, Super Bowl Sunday often leads to Hangover Monday, making today one of the least productive work days of the year.
And a man makes a promise to his dying mother. She asked that he change it. Now he's fulfilling her wish with friends. Let's take a look at your CBS 46 traffic right now. 4:53 is your time. This is a live look at I-75/85 south at the Grady curve. You can see traffic moving there pretty good. Earlier, of course, we had a major issue on the downtown connector blocking traffic, but this looks good so far. A little slowing, but for the most part, traffic moving steady. Another trip time for you, I-85 southbound downtown connector to Jonesboro Road. That is looking good, just over 10 minutes there. Average speed 65 miles an hour.
It is a bittersweet day at the Navy Yard in Washington. Workers moved back into their building, Building 197. That's where former contractor Aaron Alexis killed 12 people in September 2013. A $6 million renovation helped repair the damage from that day. And as people came into work, therapy dogs were there to help.
It's wonderful to be back what I call home. It's wonderful to be back home and to see the family.
That is a tribute to those who were killed that day. Not everyone is returning. Some have been reassigned because coming back to the building would have been too traumatic.
President Obama's 2016 budget is stirring up controversy. The president unveiled his $4 trillion budget and sent it to Capitol Hill today. The president wants billions of dollars to repair the nation's crumbling roads and bridges, and he wants the wealthiest people and corporations to pay for them.
The budget I've sent to Congress today is fully paid for through a combination of smart spending cuts and tax reforms.
This top-down redistribution doesn't work. We've been doing it for 6 years. Look, it may make for good politics. It doesn't make for good economic growth.
The president says his budget also will help middle-class workers, but Republicans say it is more about stealing from the rich.
A group of men have begun a 1,300-mile walk from Dallas, Texas, down to West Palm Beach, Florida, and others will be joining them along the way. Brian New shows us how the walk stems from a promise that one man made to his mother.
How many pair of tennis shoes you got?
2, 3.
He's made a career behind the mic as a radio DJ, but for the next 28 days.
It's a good 25 miles, it's just warming up.
Reggie D says his feet will do most of the talking.
We're doing a walk against racism, 1,300 miles from Dallas, Texas, all the way to West Palm Beach, Florida.
Sunday may have been day one of the walk, but this all really started 3 years ago when Dee's mother was diagnosed with cancer. Before she passed, Dee told her he was going to walk across the country to raise awareness about the disease.
And she was like, don't do that. Do something different. Somebody already does that. And it's like, she was like, is there anything in this world that you would love to change? And I said, yeah, racism.
So to every passing car, he waves.
Thank you.
And whether they're black or white, he asks if they'll join him.
By the time they get to Florida, they will have taken more than 2.6 million steps. But for some of them, they've been down an even longer road before.
I'm a recovering addict.
John Wiggins of Dallas says this is finally his chance to do something positive. And when they walk by his mother's gravesite on Monday, it will be the chance he's been waiting for.
So I'm going to make sure that I go and tell her your son is clean and sober and doing the right thing.
By the end of their journey, Dee hopes he'll be able to tell people lives were changed when they came together for a cause that so often divides. But first,
I gotta finish it. I gotta finish it.
He has some walking to do.
Oh, dude, wait till we get to the Pensacola Bridge.
And now for this story. We promise we won't tell anyone if you're watching this newscast because you called in sick the day after the Super Bowl. Maybe a little bit late celebrating there. Researchers have found this is one of the least productive days of the year. One thing, a lot of people call in sick. And those who do go to work, not necessarily at their best. 2008 study found 1.5 million people would call in sick today, and 4.4 million others would just show up late. Well, make sure you stay with us. The news at 5 starts right now.
Live from Midtown.